Welcome to the AI Riff, where we cut through the noise and break down the top AI stories of the week with real talk and real relevance. No hype, no fluff, just a vendor-agnostic take on what's actually shaping your world today. Whether you're in tech, lending, or just trying to make sense of the headlines, we're here to separate the wheat from the chaff and the facts from fiction. Now let's get started with your hosts, Mario Di Benedetto, Rob Katz, Ruth Lee, and me, Kyle Myers. We hope you enjoy this episode of the AI Riff.
I'm sticking with this episode 30-something for as long as I can. So here we are with another 30-something episode.
30-something. Mm-hmm.
30-something. And this one is our first continuation episode. We had so much to talk about on the last episode, we carried over some to this episode.
Actually, we had to bleep out.
How old were the characters on Friends? Were they in their 30s or their 20s?
30s.
Yeah, but we are old enough to know the show 30-something.
Oh, that's true too.
That was the Friends before Friends. Ruth's looking at me like I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I know 30-something.
Okay.
I'm your age. What are you talking about?
So
How I Met Your Mother was the other one. So yeah.
There you go. So we're continuing our conversation about the idea of collaborative AI instead of one-to-one AI, right? So we talked about it in a couple sense in the previous episode. Rob going down the road of chat and Kyle going down the road of, interactive voice. And we're just kind of playing with those ideas. So we're back at it because we just had a lot of thoughts on this concept. And I want to just throw out a different concept. And I think we've all probably lived in this world where you're involved in something, whether software development or running a business or whatever, and you do these things where you have quick stand-ups. Like something is so incredibly important, you have to meet every day. And you have to do a quick touch base, like where are we, make sure everything's moving along. Now imagine a world where AI runs those for you. It knows what the action items are. It understands your response to when you've completed something, so it doesn't have to keep asking about it, but it knows you didn't complete it, and it knows what you said yesterday. And it comes back and it says, so Rob, you said today you were going to have XYZ. Did you get that done? And it can do it in a group setting, right? So that everybody is participating and saying, and it has enough understanding of context that it can actually understand, well, there is this mitigating factor. And maybe if it gets really good, and it says like, oh, you need to make a phone call to somebody. Says, hold on, I'll do that right now. Like, listen, what better project manager than AI?
Yeah.
So it becomes your DevOps.
What's that?
So it becomes DevOps.
Could be.
Scrum-master. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is how many stand-ups have I been in where I saw the Scrum-master, leader, whatever, let somebody off the hook when they should have been let off the hook.
Exactly.
And this will hold people accountable and hold people accountable, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You said this was going to take 47 hours and it's taken 200 hours. So what's going on?
Yeah. There's so many aspects. As you say that, Ruth, it's like, so you got it done today, but you had budgeted this for 8 hours of work, Rob. I saw that you logged 17 hours of work. That's, it's unfortunate you had to work really late in the night, but why did this take so much longer than we expected?
Right.
Yeah. Then you go back to the sizing, and you go back to you say, hey, well, who sized this? How did we get this size? Where are the requirements? Oh, there weren't good requirements. So let's go back to the original requirement gatherer. Let's go, you could draw it all the way back to the beginning.
And I know we're kind of going down the software world here, but the retrospectives, like how many retrospectives have we all sat in, whether it's software engineering or some post-project or whatever, where you sit there and go, okay, what did we learn, what did we not learn? And then no behavior changes in the next sprint. So the retrospectives really aren't being applied. But in this case, if you've got this tool that actually remembers all the historic retrospectives and starts to see a pattern of something that didn't go right, to be able to change it mid-flight in the middle of the project. Why are you laughing, Mario?
Because I'm just imagining all the project managers that I've ever worked with and how almost every one of them to a T became hated. Because if you pressed hard on people, they resented you. And they were, and how much is this AI going to be hated? Like, it's going to have the worst nicknames. It's going to be made fun of.
But
The
it won't
kids aren't
care.
going to play with it at recess. Like, this AI is going to be an outcast.
But it won't care. It doesn't have
But let's say,
feeling.
but let's say in the mortgage industry, right? I mean, let's say that you were starting with a new investor. And it has the ability to say, okay, so some of the areas of friction that we see with this investor have to do with the appraisal. And it specifically has to do with all of your, issues surrounding comps or, net and gross adjustments. And this is an area of sensitivity for them, et cetera. I mean, at least you would provide and be able to surface the information that tells that underwriter, tells the loan officer, tells everybody who's there, this is something you need to be paying attention to because they have sensitivities here that maybe somebody in another area doesn't, because you're getting your inspection waivers or whatnot. I mean, because it kind of does change the name of the game, and you would be able to look back across all of your loans and see which ones are taking the longest, which one and why.
But you don't even, you're making me realize that at some point you don't even have to do that, because it knows. It knows that this new investor, by the way, we had that same problem on the last investor, and here's what we did, and here's how we should react to make it a better, faster reaction as an organization than the last time, because I'm now realizing this is a recurring theme in these conversations that I'm listening to.
You're making me think, and I'm like, this is cool.
You and Rob both have the.
This is cool.
Bringing the old chin grab.
Scratch. Yeah.
I'm wondering how much of this we like. I know it's all out in the open and it's all public anyway, but how much of this conversation should we share without an NDA?
Listen, it is the fun of having, because I'm not sure. I'm going to tell a little story as an aside. I'm not sure AI would have come up with this concept as well as the woman who started this, right? Who we piggybacked on the last episode, Sharon Zhao. And it's kind of cool, right? Because she didn't take it in all these different directions, but there's so many possibilities here. And I think we all have enough technical awareness that we're kind of looking at it and saying, it's really complicated, but it's not that complicated.
Right.
Like, it's a very doable thing in the scheme of what's possible right now.
Well, and for those of you who tuned into our prior episode, this is what's possible in 2026. We are on it's early January, so we got a full year ahead of us. Think about how much advancement in AI happened in 2025.
Yeah, where were we in January last year? Right.
That's right. And so to think about what's possible, what's going to be possible 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, this could be Tinker Toys, right?
Well,
so.
Yeah, I mean, January last year, we were 3 clowns in a circus tent.
Well, 3 clowns outside the circus. No way.
See, I say 3 clowns only because I'm not going to include Ruth in the clown comment. It's us 3. Everyone knows it was us 3.
Just you.
So, yeah.
Can we come in the clown car next time?
I was a Johnny come lately clown.
It's all right. You're providing much needed balance to our old manindom. I don't know what it's called. Old man syndrome.
I guess, I keep kind of, just thinking about, like, because I'm always looking for the negative side. I mean, I think that there definitely, I mean, anytime you have somebody who is holding somebody accountable, sure, there's, all the issues that you could have. But, I've also sat in a whole lot of meetings. I mean, I would love for it to be able to at least sit and listen to, I would love for it to be able to listen to people who are quoting loan officers who are quoting things, who are discussing conversations with borrowers. Because sometimes, I'm sitting in the other room and I'm like, what did you just say? And it having the ability to say, all right, everybody, I think that we need to have compliance, loan officer, sales manager, all on the phone. And we need to really talk about what this means, because what they're saying is not true. And that those things happen, especially now that we're talking more about payment comfort. It's less about just rate, and it's more about financial structure. I I mean, those are the type of things that I think would be hugely important in an originator's world.
So Mario, you were very laughing through that or smiling.
There's so many things this like makes me think like in our modern world or our really techie world that we live in. The saying is something like, "Don't have a meeting when an email would do," something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining like, don't have an in-person meeting when your avatar can attend in your place. Like, like now I'm realizing that this AI is going to create a collaborative area where I don't even need to go.
I think Kyle is an avatar tonight. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm going to send the avatar Mario to my meetings. It will summarize. If it needs me, it will pull me in.
I use that all the time, though. I have these these AI note takers, and they show up to meetings that I never show up to, and then I listen later. I mean, because frankly, I mean, some of them are just. Some people just. I mean, they've never met a meeting that they didn't love.
So Ruth, you brought up a very good idea. You said listen to the loan officers. Well, what problem do most sales organizations have anyway? Is their salesmen will use the opportunity to sell a little more than they have, and then they have to back it off. Or if you're in a real compliant world, like some sort of insurance company, or selling any type of insurance, or selling any type of products that are regulated heavily, like mortgages, you could actually have the AI listening all the time, not to interject, not to correct you, but after the call to then send you a summary of the places where you need to improve. Like it could say, you could have overcome that objection they had about this using this type of language. You could have also framed what they were saying earlier about their dogs and cat into pet insurance. And you could have said, it could train people. It could be used as a virtual trainer because it's already knows after you just let it listen to a bunch of phone calls, and it already has a model. It should know how to overcome objections, and it would be awesome. That'd be a great tool.
Train it on your top producers and your top performers, and let that be the benchmark. That's what's interesting about both Ruth and Kyle, your comments here, where my mind went a little bit was humanistic approach, a humanizing of it, which is whether it's in a typed chat or an audio conversation, if the tonality of somebody's response becomes negative or aggressive, it could interrupt, not wait till the call's over and then give coaching. But all of a sudden, you're having this conversation and you start getting tense, and all of a sudden the AI kind of chirps up and says, and not calling out the person who's being aggressive, but knows how to de-escalate it, throws a question out there, redirects it to bring the tension down.
Well, because sentiment analysis is kind of a thing that's already, it's alive and well, and it works very, very well, as long as it understands the context, right? Because sometimes the conversations are a little acrimonious because people have really unrealistic expectations of what, we're originators. We don't come with a wand. I mean, I can't make your house worth, 1.1 million. I can't do that.
But okay. So that's a great example is if you've got a borrower who's challenging that the houses should be worth more, and this AI interrupts and says, again, non-adversarial, but okay, well, let's break it down. I've done an analysis of the neighborhood. I looked at all the different cops, and here's what's going on. And it explained it all in a way that de-escalated it and talked in the way that whoever's agitated is willing to accept that conversation because it's an AI and it knows the best way to approach it. I mean, that could be great, right? I mean, it's most of the time people get frustrated because somebody has a different understanding or interpretation of a rule. And if you have an AI that's like, here is our company's interpretation of the rule that makes us the most successful, blah, blah, blah. And Ruth, I'm sorry to say it, but your interpretation isn't going to work with the investor we're working with. It's just an interesting kind of perspective where you've got this neutral referee who's not emotional about it, sharing a perspective. That'd be very, very interesting.
And they also get to be the bad guy.
Yeah, that's right.
De-escalation skills, all of the things you guys are talking about to me are like, it's one of the harder aspects of being human, right? is to have that skill, to exercise that skill, to be able to apply that skill. It's hard,
Yeah.
and I dare say most people lack that skill, and or at least lack all of those skills, right? That you need. And so, in that sense, yeah, this thing could just be the thing that fills in the gaps for where the people themselves don't really necessarily have the interpersonal skills, and that's all it's doing, is filling gaps.
I love what Rob said, because quite often it is about either the inability to communicate a guideline, the inability to communicate the context around that guideline. I mean, maybe you understand it, but you can't apply the context to the person at hand. And so they feel that maybe that doesn't apply to me. I mean, you can only imagine, like, can you imagine how effective it would be just in having conversations about income? I mean, how many times I've had conversations with borrowers about their income, and they're like, but, you know, I mean, my favorite, and this was in the days before the 4506C, and they would be like, well, I'm self-employed. I really make a whole lot more. I'm like, well, that's groovy, but you have to tell me what you told the IRS that this is what you made. That's what we're going to use. But no, I make so much more. I'm like, and so having somebody being able to like chime in with, okay, that's just not how it works, and being able to have kind of an unbiased, it's an interesting idea, but you know, would it piss people off? I don't know.
I'd want to know when AI would interject when you're getting abused on the phone, like someone's berating you and then the AI jumps in and goes, "Hey, you can't talk to them like that."
Well, yeah, there's a lot of crazy edge cases, right?
With some nice tact. I mean, you know, or being able to interject and just kind of, you know, misdirect or redirect the conversation. And, well, let's talk about rates right now. You know, I understand you guys, let's pause here and let's, you know, move over to something really positive that's happening, which is rates.
I wonder. I know we're bumping up against the end of the dog walk, but Ruth, you brought up a really interesting point from conflict avoidance. So imagine you're talking to somebody, you know that they're wrong. They think that they're right, but they're wrong, right? Can you imagine having the ability to go, you know, I think you might be right, but let's check with the AI. You know, it knows, or let's check with, you know, whatever you name the AI tool. And the AI comes in and explains unemotionally, like, okay, blah, 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 blah. And then you could be on the roll of, oh, man, I thought for sure you were right. Damn it. And talk about, there's no conflict there, right? You know, that's it. That'd be an interesting.
That's like going to the camera in NFL.
I love this person, right?
That's like going to the replay booth in the NFL. Yeah, I'm thinking this is
That's right.
This is definitely that's intentional grounding.
But it keeps you both on the same side of the desk. And that's one of the hardest things to do in sales, which is to stay on the same side of desk as the customer, rather than, and quite often, because, you know, we represent our investors, we represent, you know, the compliance, we represent so many pieces, we are pitted against our borrowers rather than on their same team. And so it would be a really interesting way. I mean, if you could configure it such that you are on the team of the borrower, then it becomes a very meaningful tool.
Oh, I know. You have two bots, and one is for the borrower and defends them, and the other one, and then you get this second bot that's defending the borrower to go, well, they kind of have a point over there, like it's their own attorney or something.
Okay,
That'd be
we
awesome.
have benefit of the doubt bot, and you know,
devil's advocate bot, and.
Right up until you said that, Kyle, I was like, Ruth, you just captured the original intent of what we started the previous episode on, right? Bots that bring people together, right? That you know, make it all collaborative and are not, you know, just one-to-one useful.
So, Rob, we need Roland in these conversations. I mean, I think that's what needs to happen. Like, Roland needs to be the fifth window.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And hey, Mauro, are we going to continue this conversation? We got a few more topics left.
Do we?
I think we got peer.
All right. Then
we got a whole bunch of stuff.
Are we going to hit 32?
We're doing a to be continued is going to be followed with a to be continued.
To be continued part 2. That's what they always do on the soap operas and stuff.
Part 2.
Part 2. Thanks, everybody. We'll be right back.